I see you everywhere. Where am I?
All right. Go ahead and begin. Check out my delay here. So I wanted to begin just quickly, just to mention a few things. I came across this, just, you know, I've had these files for a long time. This is on my desktop, and I wanted to show you guys. And it's relevant because, of course, and you all can check the description, and you can see the links to the analysis, and I may go over like something here related to that in a second. And let me just mention one thing: anybody that's going to listen to this, and you're coming in and saying, "Well, okay, I want to hear about Israel and Iran," go fuck yourself. I'm not making this shit. I don't look and see the hot topics and this and that, and provide some little bullshit, superficial, useless, inaccurate analysis and report news, right, to get the clicks. Because I'm not a monetizer. I'm not a scammer. Okay, I'm a world-class expert. Anything I talk about that's not completely opinion related, most of the time, I have a high confidence level in. I'm not going to talk about things with authority unless I tell you I don't really know. When I talk about stuff, I fucking know about it. Okay? That's who I am. That's what I'm all about. I'm a straight shooter. So don't give me the bullshit. Oh well, you're wasting my time. Go fuck yourself. I don't want none of you fucking YouTube idiots on this to watch any of this stuff. Okay? And I'm talking about people that randomly come across this who don't know anything about me. Go fuck yourself. Because if you're on YouTube, your brain's already fucking It's melted. It's garbage. So, just to get that out of the way. Because you get this. Oh well, if you really you need to you need to really ramp up your production quality and your editing. Shut your fucking mouth, you stupid fucking idiot. I mean, this is this is the kind of stupidity that you get with these idiots. Like they just assume like everyone is like trying to become a YouTube grifter. Like they assume everyone is like trying to make YouTube a business, because everyone is, except me. Because I've known from day one, 20 fucking years ago, YouTube was gonna be bullshit. Google bought it a year later. I knew it was finished. And that's why I never came on ScamTube. Because real professionals, serious people, don't go on ScamTube to talk about their business, to promote their business. They don't do that. Failures, business failures. If you're a failure in your business, you're on YouTube trying to promote your business. Or if you're a scammer. Okay? Credible people aren't going on YouTube to promote their business. In fact, most of these fucking scammers on YouTube, they don't have a real business. Their business is YouTube. You see? It's fact. Fact. F-A-C-T. Write it the motherfuck down. Boom. Okay? That's fact. And every intelligent person out there knows that. Why do you think you don't have any credible businesses on YouTube promoting themselves? None. Think about it. And the problem is, of course, these idiots that tune into YouTube thinking that represents their universe of information and insight. They don't go to any other sources. In fact, I've mentioned this before. All these YouTube quote creators, unquote, even like guys that have large channels, they all stay on YouTube. And whenever they want to find out about something, they go to YouTube. And they follow all these other YouTubers. They think they're credible. That's the sad thing. So you're getting people on YouTube who not only are they scammers and don't know what the fuck they're talking about when they're specifying their area for which they claim that they know, they don't know anything about anything because they're getting all their information from YouTube, from other YouTubers. I kid you not. How do I know this? Because I've come across countless times people, and they name drop others fucking scammers. Oh yeah, I saw this and he's saying this. And I'm going to go over this later. I'm talking about even people that you would think have some credibility, even though if they're on YouTube, they don't. And I'm talking about credibility in terms of you would think maybe they're reasonably intelligent because, let's say, they're an attorney. And of course, real attorneys aren't on YouTube. Okay, I mean, that's just a fact. Okay, real doctors aren't on YouTube. That's fact. Just because you have an attorney's license, a medical license, doesn't mean that you're an attorney or a doctor. You are what you do. If you're doing YouTube, you're a fucking influencer. You're a medical influencer. You're a legal influencer. If you're not an attorney, if you're not spending all your fucking time litigating, it's just fact. Okay? But people are stupid. Most people don't realize that, especially the younger generation. The younger they are, the dumber they are. That's the sad reality because the internet has infested their mind. And those of us fortunate enough to have lived long enough before the internet, we know the difference. We know the difference. Internet, once again, I've said this countless times for years, internet is the worst innovation in human history. The worst innovation in human history. It has dumbed down the human population. And only the most intelligent people, the highest level, and I'm not talking about necessarily pure, raw intelligence as gauged by, say, IQs, because there's a different type of intelligence out there. Some might call it street smarts. Nonetheless, the highest level of intelligence, only they are allowed, perhaps I should say, only we are allowed, only we are able to, let's say we're able to use the internet appropriately, we're clever enough, we're wise enough to understand our limitations and the internet's limitations so that it can be used as an asset, as a tool, but we understand the fine line. We understand how to keep the bullshit away. And I can tell you right now, the vast majority of the population not only cannot do that, they don't even realize that's the reality. Obviously, the first step is understanding the reality. You can only address an issue if you understand the reality of that issue, right? But that's the fact. And it's just like, for instance, AI. If you don't understand truly how to utilize it, it's just complete horseshit. Garbage. You see? And that's the way it's going to be. That's the way they want it. Making people dumb. But anyway, so before we begin, talk a little bit about the war criminal and associated topics. I want to just go ahead and go over this because this is related to, and you might look in the links here. I've recently did a chat GPT analysis on my track record. Somebody asked about it. I tried it before and it just wasn't so good. I don't like the whole little pop-up thing. Maybe there's another big screen. Maybe the premium is good and stuff, but I haven't. But I went ahead and did one, and it was actually a little bit better than I thought. In some regards, it is better than Grok 3, the Chat GPT 4. It is but in some regards, it's not. So only by kind of using this, you kind of get a familiarity on the weaknesses, the strengths, how to use it, and of course, the most important thing, if you want to learn how to use it, is you really have to test it with things that you already know for sure, for certain. You see. Because that way you're going to be able to spot the weaknesses, the deficits, and in some cases the inaccuracies in the AI analyses, you see. So ChatGPT, it is a little different. In some ways it is better than Grok, but in some ways Grok is better. Grok, I think, has a better ability to go deeper and pursue more things. That's what it seems to me like. I don't know. I haven't used ChatGPT much. But on the other hand, certain things ChatGPT is able to grasp things that you have to go through and challenge Grok with to convince it, let's say. Okay, so anyway, you can go ahead and read. Matter of fact, you can just go ahead and read the link, the ChatGPT on its analysis of my 2008 financial crisis track record. And because I've already done all this stuff with Grok, I already know, some things what to ask, and more importantly, I already know many of the people, the universe of people who have been somewhat attributed to have predicted the financial crisis. So I'm able to enter those people in there. Okay, and I'll probably continue to explore it more, experiment with it, and do more analyses on that. But it takes a lot of time. That particular entry you're going to see, that link, is over 40 pages, by the way. And it took me 4 hours, maybe more than 4 hours, just to format the publication of that on my website, to remove the bullshit. That's another thing. It won't even publish it because it's got all these little avatars and shit. So just to format so it displays clearly, took 4 hours. Okay, you see. Not to mention going through and reading it. So, of course, most people aren't going to even go through the analysis, but it's 40 pages. Why would I say that? Folks, you got people that want to talk shit that never even read my fucking books. Okay, you got people that make up their mind. They read one article and they want it because they have a confirmation bias, because they have a, as Mel Gibson would say, dog in the fight. You understand? So anyway, let me just bring this up here. Noel Robini, clown, con man, but he has the right last name, so he gets promoted. And you all read the links, hopefully, from Grok 3, and I'll do this with ChatGPT in terms of what media exposure means and the lack of it, what it can do to your career, how it can make or break a person, right? If you've got the exposure, you can make a fortune. Even though you're an idiot, you're always wrong. Great example, Peter Shit, right? Great example. Interestingly, if you look at the people who are always promoted by the media, and I don't care what genre you're talking about, it doesn't have to be the financial media, right? You can go back, the fitness crew, go back 50 years ago. The first guy, who was it? Anybody? Anybody know? I don't know if it's 50 years ago, I'm just guessing. Somewhere around there, maybe longer than that. Anybody remember the name Richard Simmons? The homo, right? You understand. And then look at the guys now. Investigate who they are. Really look closely. Whatever genre, it doesn't matter. They're promoting their own. This is something that no one has the fucking balls to talk about. And this is a topic that's near and dear to me because I was a victim of this. This is why you all didn't make a fortune in the financial crisis, because I was banned. To some degree, because I'm not related to these guys. I don't know to what degree. My opinion is that it may not have been the primary reason. I think it was substantial, but it may not have been the majority. I think the majority of the reason was because I exposed so much that instantly no publishers want to touch me. I mean, you have to understand, all these media folks, they got these chapters that you see. They had access to these chapters. Many of them had the full book. Okay? Many of them had the full book. And they don't want to. And think about it, even today, after, I thought I was pretty spot on in 2006, 2007. I was becoming more spot on 2008. Boom, boom, boom. I'm nailing the fuck out of everything. And then you look more today, how right I have been. And now I'm considered a world-class top expert in trade policy, even though I don't even focus on that. Because of the work I did in America's Financial Apocalypse, nobody in the world wrote a treatment on trade, on U.S. trade like I did in the world. And Grok 3 has shown that. They've analyzed all the big trade experts. And that's just from a book that I did 20 years ago. Can you imagine if I had more exposure, more reason, economic incentive to focus more on that? The same with healthcare, by the way. And I'm banned. This is why people are not getting accurate, good information. All media is and has always been bias and agendas. And it's never been worse than today. Never been worse than today. So let me go ahead and show you now. Nouriel Roubini, this is an image. I forgot about this one. It's on my desktop. So this is you know the guy. He's a fraud. He's a fraud, and and he games the system because he's got the right lineage. So he's one of the guys they claim predicted the financial crisis, and he did not. And part of the reason is not just because he's of the right bloodline. Part of the reason as well is because he's a former IMF official, economist at IMF, which who runs the IMF. Take a look. Now, let me explain to you guys, if you don't know how these global, let's call them global bodies operate. IMF, obviously the UN it's pretty obvious to understand that. You've got representatives from all these countries, these member nations, right? That's different. But when you're talking about the IMF, that's the international bankers. You know that, right? And the World Bank is very similar. So you don't have, per se, let's say, equal weight members in the World Bank or in the IMF. What you have is kind of an oligarch of officials. You know, you've got the top executives. But what you also have in the IMF and the World Bank, and also the OECD, what you have is that you've got, especially with the IMF and the World Bank. I mean, these are the central bankers. This is their buddies. You all know that, right? The IMF specifically works hand in hand with the Federal Reserve. And if you take a close look at the people who run the IMF now, who have run it in the past, you can see that they are kind of in the same family. Okay? I mean, you can go back 15 years ago, and if you recall, Mr. Strauss-Kahn, right? The pedophile rapist who was head of the IMF, they made him resign. That kind of went and, you know, it didn't make the publicity that it should have, right? Because he's protected. Or you can look at, what's her name? The former French finance minister. I think that was she the head of the IMF? That lady that looks like she's got like Donald Trump's fake tan times a million. What's her name? What's that lady's name? Just really repulsive to look at. Like what happened to her? Like, was she in the tanning booth for a million years? What's her name? She's the head of the ECB now, I think. Right? Of course, I think she was the IMF. She was convicted, found guilty of a felony crime. I forgot what it was. In the French government, I believe, and nothing happened to her. By the way, nothing happened to her. Okay, so the IMF, by the way, I'll get back to Norel Urbini in a second. And the World Bank, how they operate is as follows. Here's the control mechanism. Nobody has ever talked about, I'm sure. And I'll be copied. For all you fucking low-level pieces of shit who copy me, at least give me goddamn credit, okay? Oh, no, I don't want to because you're controversial and I'm afraid. You stupid pissant. Shut your fucking mouth. So here it is. Oh, you're not credible. You curse too much. No, I'm the big swinging dick. I write the fucking rules because I'm the best. When you're the best, you write the fucking rules. And you do it on purpose. You know why? Because you don't need to impress people to get them to like you. You see, this is what a lot of con artists do. Oh, he's a nice guy. He's polite. I like him. I like his demeanor. I like the guy. I'm going to do business with him because I like him. You all know this, right? You all do understand this, correct? Lagarde is her name. Lagarde, right? No, it's Lagarde. Talking about the old the finance minister, Lagarde. Yeah. So anyway, let's look it up. So here's how the IMF and the World Bank operate, by the way. And this is especially important to convince the naive nations. You know the naive nations of the world? You know where they are? Where are the most naive nations located? Aside from the developing world. Anyone want to take a guess where the most naive nations are, generally speaking? Anybody? What region of the country? Or, I'm sorry, what region of the world? The region of the world where the nations are most naive, probably, I don't know for sure, but just my impression based upon my understanding of the mentality and the culture. So you compare, let's say, Latin America with Africa, with Central Asia, and then, just Asia in general, Southeast Asia, right, East Asia. I would say that the most naive nations are Asia, okay? Why do I say that? And this is important, by the way. It's important to understand the control by the IMF and the World Bank. The reason why I say that is because, number one, the culture in Asia, generally speaking, is a kind of a passive nature. They're non-confrontational, right? So, and this is why, of course, you can imagine, even though Africa, that region is developing, right? It's low income, like Asia in general, aside from East Asia, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan. Aside from that, the reason why is because in Africa, of course, you have a kind of a pushback because of the political situation, political, religious, the Islamic faction, right, which is going to be more anti IMF and World Bank. Why? Well, first and foremost, because they understand who runs the IMF and the World Bank, and they understand, although maybe they say things that are in alignment with their issues, more compassionate. The reality is that the IMF and the World Bank are the right hand of the Federal Reserve, which is kind of the right hand of Wall Street. And all of these things, you can think about, these are the guys with the money and the power, and it overlaps to politics, geopolitics. Do you all understand what I'm saying? And it specifically pertains to what's going on today, right now, with Israel and Palestine and Iran, as well as a long history of the conflicts in that region. So, because of that, generally speaking, the countries in Africa are not going to be as naive about this issue that I'm going to bring up here in a second. Okay, but you also have the added factor, and this also pertains to Latin America, South America. They're not as naive because they understand the history of the IMF, right? A World Bank, IMF specifically, that has come in and destroyed these countries throughout history with their loans and their conditions for the loans, which basically amounts to social reengineering, right? I've talked about that. It's going on in South Korea. It's been going on for many years. Japan, Italy, where they're basically saying you don't have enough people in your workforce, your economic growth needs to improve, put more women in your workforce. So they try to socially re-engineer their culture on the guise of economic growth, and that's part of the conditions that they must follow if they want the loans. So here's the control mechanism. So once again, Asia is more naive with respect to these organizations, how they operate and what their agenda is. And so how they work is as follows. So you've got the IMF, who has the top officials, right? And you can take a close look at who they are, and you're going to see they're related. And they're related to all the guys, all these groups I'm talking about. And if you take a close look at the lineage, the representation in the world population, it's less than 0.1%. So you have to ask yourself, what's going on here? Like, how is this possible? How is this much control in these critical, vital areas of money, media, geopolitics? How is all this possible? It's not a coincidence. Okay? It's not a coincidence. It's, I don't know, maybe a mafia? But anyway, so when you look at how the IMF operates, you have to understand that the member nations, right, they have representatives of each nation. And this is how they exert control. They brainwash each nation to accept their policies and agendas. What they do is this. So let's say Thailand's a good example, because Thailand is becoming more, they're going more into that system, which I'll talk about another time. But let's say, Thailand, what have you, what other countries, Japan, South Korea, right? So what happens is that each of those countries, they have representatives that, employees that work at the IMF, right? So the IMF has a division, a South Korea division, and they have analysts and they have economists that are from South Korea, actual South Korean citizens, right? Same thing with Japan. Same thing with all the member nations in the IMF. Same thing with the World Bank, by the way. You see? So when the top guys, the executives who create all the policies, when they want to execute these policies, of course, they have on their side all of the economists and analysts from all nations in the world. That's their employees. So they indoctrinate them with their ideals. And so when the economists And analysts from the IMF who are South Korean citizens, right? They go to the South Korean leaders and say, well, we need to embrace and worry about man-made climate change, for instance. We got to do this. So you understand. And the officials in South Korea, of course, they're more willing to accept and believe and trust their own countrymen. So this is, and I mentioned this about Asia because I think Asia is very naive about how all these things operate, and so they very willingly accept these things, and it's a big problem. You see, so this is how the IMF has control over the whole world: is that they recruit economists, analysts from each country, and they brainwash them, and then these people are their loyalty is, well, they think their loyalty is to their country, but they think that they're doing the right thing through implementing, advocating, endorsing policies of the IMF because they're IMF employees, and they think that they're working with the higher body of research. And if you think the IMF is a bunch of geniuses, well, you might want to look at a publication I wrote. I don't know, close to 15 years ago, which explains the premeditated takedown by the IMF of Greece and why they did it. It's called The Rape of Greece by Blank Bankers. And that actually got the Iranian news service Press TV banned in Europe. They published that article. They were banned in Europe because of that article, by the way. You might want to look that up on the website. Okay. And basically in that article, I went through and explained that the IMF has access to the most data in the world. Okay. And this was back during the sovereign debt crisis. And I basically, you can go ahead, you should read the article. And I lay out a case that the IMF intentionally, they intentionally came out with these ridiculous forecasts as a way to destroy the Greek economy further. Why? Why would they do that? I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to make you go and read it. But it has to do with the Wall Street guys. And it reflects the changes that have gone on in Greece and in Europe since that time. You're seeing more commercialization of European countries. You used to be able to just go and park on the street. And now they've got parking meters. They've got privatization of what were before public-owned assets owned by the people. And now they've been auctioned off at pennies on the dollar. And guess who bought them up? And this is kind of the MO of how the IMF operates. They've done this throughout history with respect to resource assets in Africa, in South America. You understand? And so you can imagine now how important it is if a country, if a region is very naive. Because if they don't really understand what's going on, they're going to believe and trust the IMF analysts, the World Bank analysts, who are of their country, but they work for the IMF. They're going to take this advice, you see. And this is the control mechanism no one's ever talked about, and no one will talk about. I don't think anyone else knows about, understands this, other than the people, the high-level people that are involved, to be honest. But if people knew about it, they wouldn't talk about it anyway, because it's not about talking about the truth, folks. Today, it's about talking about what people want to hear, what's going to get the clicks, right? All people care about that are promoting any type of, publishing content, it's all about the clicks. How many clicks am I going to get? How much money am I going to make? Why? Because once again, I've been saying this for the better part of 20 years, and I've proven it over and over again. Advertisement-based content is a fucking scam. Now, I'm sure my content is monetized by YouTube. I don't monetize. I never will. I never have. Okay? I can't control that. But the point is that because I'm not going to monetize my content, I don't give a fuck, right? My content it's not tailored to what YouTube and their ad sponsors want. You understand? That's the problem. When you are making money off of advertisements, off of endorsers, based upon that content. That content's going to be slanted towards what they want or what's going to benefit them. That's a fact. Okay? So, Nourav Orbini, IMF clown. This is a guy who's got the nickname of Dr. Doom. Why? He's a broken clock. If you're a broken clock, I mean, folks, simply for the fact that he's called Dr. Doom tells you he's not credible. Because he's a broken clock. Everything is doom, 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 doom. Okay, well, eventually something bad's going to happen. Just like Peter Schiff, right? Yet, he's able to make a fortune because he's getting constant promotion by his buddies in the media. Track record sucks. Didn't predict a financial crisis, even though he's attributed to that, and it allowed him to make tens of millions of dollars because he has the right last name. It's fact. This is all fact. This is why it's important for you all to know about me, my track record, what happened to me, my story. You understand. So, take a look. Bloodbath has just begun. This is in 2023, March 2023. So you're listening to this, you're hearing all this, you're scared. Oh my gosh, so think about it. This is March 2023. For those of you who don't remember, March was about the time. Now remember, we hit the market lows in October 13th, 2022, and we were in an earnings recession by Q4 2022, which lasted to Q3 2023. So everybody was worried. Things weren't looking that great. They were kind of like, I'm not sure. Of course, my research was ahead of the curve. Boom, motherfucking boom. I called the market lows in October, 4 months in advance. Fact. Anybody? Listen, my credibility is the top, is the best. Don't say I didn't say that. Let's go to court, bitch. Let's go to court. I don't fucking lie. I don't need to lie. I'm the best. Okay, that's fact. So anyway, you got this guy during that period. And during that period, I'm already getting people in the market, calling the bottom, putting it out in October, definitively getting them in hard and heavy, proclaiming the beginning of the next bull market by June. Okay, Wall Street didn't come out with any bullish forecast until the middle of November. If you might recall, you can look all that up. In fact, you had the conference board, the geniuses, they were proclaiming a recession was coming as of late 2022, and they kept making that forecast over and over and over and over again, just like Mike Wilson of Morgan Stanley, you might recall. Goldman Sachs was also pretty bearish up until they had to throw in the towel by December to 2023 because things were just looking too bullish. But so think about it first. So I'm giving you guys some perspective, some context for which you can consider what's going on here. So you got March of 2023. This guy's fear-mongering, okay? So think about it. You're on the fence. You don't know where to go. You're not quite sure, and you're listening to this guy. Holy shit! You're selling your stocks. You're not getting back in. You understand, right? Total clown. And of course, this cunt. They're related, by the way. FYI, she's a gold pumping cunt. Okay, gold pumping cunt. She's worked for Stansberry Research, boiler room shit show, right? Porter Stansberry, the fucking fraud, another fucking doomsday broken clock, fear mongering con man. You all know the scene, right? I exposed this whole boiler room shit show 15 years ago, and I have been doing it since then. Or Gore Financial, right? You know the whole song and dance. Jim Rickards, Robert Kiyosaki's part of Gore Financial. Tim Sykes is part of Gore Financial, by the way. See, Tim Sykes, the jig is up on this fucking scammer. He had to he's kind of downplayed himself now because he's kind of moved to different venues to promote his bullshit because too many people, know about him. So he's kind of a little bit undercover because if he comes out more explicitly, there will eventually inevitably be people that will expose him. So he's kind of on the down and out. He's working with these boiler room marketing companies, FYI. So anyway, she also worked with Kitco, gold pumping scam company, right? You can take a look at the channels. Kitco, right? If you want to see an army of con artists, contrarian indicators, gold pumping scammers. Take a look at Kitco. No credibility of any of these motherfuckers. It's the same crew. You're going to get the same message. Everything's bad. Stay out of the stock market. Buy gold. Every fucking day, every month, every year. Okay? It's the same shit show. They don't have anyone of any credibility there. No one there's objective, neutral. It's not about news, folks. These channels on ScamTube, it's about promoting their agenda. Don't ever think there's no interviews on YouTube. None. They don't exist. An interview other than let's say from CNN, say, oh no, they're biased. No. No. Let's be honest here, okay? You can say whatever you want. The professional, and you all know I hate the media with passion. But I'm a realist. I'm not a fucking idiot. I'm not an extremist. The fact is that, and they're not perfect, but you're going to get real interviews. And not always, by the way. You're not always going to get real interviews on CNN, on Fox. Well, Fox is rarely real interviews, actually. Fox is really, Fox is not even legitimate, in my opinion. But the professional media tends to give real interviews for the most part. Does it sometimes not give real interviews? Sure, when they want to promote an agenda. But generally speaking, they do oftentimes give real interviews, right? Whereas these channels on ScamTube, they never give real interviews. What's a real interview? Folks, a real interview is when you're asking tough questions. You're not just letting someone get on their fucking pedestal and ramble their narrative, right? You're challenging them. You understand? You're challenging their views, and you're asking them to prove what they're saying, to give justification. You understand? These channels on ScamTube don't do that. Whether it's Joe Rogan, right, or whomever. All these channels, it's all about promoting their fucking agendas, okay? And their circle jerks. Okay? So anyway, she's got her own channel now. I guess she got canned. She's getting old now. So, the younger girls they're more attractive. Starting to get, it's kind of like Hollywood, she's got to can her. Anyway, take a look at this one. This is an interesting one. Well, let me just remind you guys of this one, of course. This is a classic. It's from my desktop. I showed this before. This is where, and I have all the the archive research where I had, I actually made these calls on JCPenney. One of many. Imagine you got so-called the best investors in the world, the best fund managers, right? Bill Ackman, George Soros, right? Kyle Bass. I'm coming out and proclaiming JCPenney ultimately is going to go bankrupt. They're in a downward spiral. They're not going to make it. And I'm recommending shorting, not just short term. Okay? And you can see that here. And then you can see Soros takes 20 million share stake. Bill Ackman 39 million. They team up thinking that they, let's buy 60 million shares. We'll be able to cause the stock to pump. They're trying to do a pump, basically, I guess. I don't know, but I knew it was a disaster once they brought in that guy. What's his name? Was it Bill Johnson or somebody? The guy from Apple Retail. Oh, he made Apple Retail iPhone. He was great. And the guy comes in and he starts leasing out JCPenney space to all these vendors. A fucking idiot. And of course, that was also during the time when Ellen DeGeneres was the spokesperson for JCPenney, right? A family retail store, and they bring her in. But anyway, I knew it was a done deal, and when they brought that guy in from Apple, I knew it was finished, absolutely. And you can see, so Kyle Bass comes in and he sees these guys and he wants to ride the coattails, right? Guess what? By the time Bass is buying, well, no, he's buying here too. He's buying more. Soros is selling, right? These guys lost their ass on JCPenney. Folks, I'm sorry, but if truly, and of course you have to go back, you've got to go back 15 years and more to remember what was going on with JCPenney and the whole retail space. But I just know, folks, think about it. I'm not even an analyst dedicated to retail. You don't need. That's how easy of a call it was. That's how easy it is. So if you're missing this stuff, you're a fucking baboon. Now, I'm talking about, raising the bar. We're talking about people who are managing other people's money. They're supposed to be great investors. This is why I'm saying these guys in the financial, they're all fucking baboons. But the media's going to tell you they're all great. That's fucking horseshit. There are no great investors. There are none. There are none. Okay? I'm telling you right now. That's all bullshit. But they want to tell you, and this is proof positive. How can you miss J.C. Penney? Okay? Anyway. I mean, is it partly because I'm that fucking good? Yeah, but not in this case, I don't believe. I think it was such an easy call. Okay? Such an easy call. Let me show you another one here. I may have to cut this stream and do another one to get to the meat and potatoes. So this is, of course, I've talked about this. I've written about it for many years. Market Watch. Scam Watch. Now, first and foremost, like all of these publications, Barron's, Wall Street Journal, right? You ain't going to be a writer, a contributor. They're not going to interview you unless you're related to them. If you don't fucking believe me, take a look, start investigating. I know. I've been monitoring it, observing it as a professional quant and qualitative analyst, mostly qualitative, for 2 decades. Okay? And I'm telling you right now. Okay? Now, there's going to be some exceptions, but if you look closely, for instance, you look at Fox Business and you got Charles Payne, the penny stock pump and dump scam artist who was fined by the SEC, right? And he's got his little stock fucking bullshit. Well, it's perfect. Why? Because Fox is accused always of being like, it's racist network, right? They're pro-white and all this bullshit. You never hear him being accused of being maybe pro, the word. Well, take a look at their coverage in Israel and Iran right now. But anyway, so take a look at Charles Payne. If you look, he's the face guy. Although they could have found a better face guy, a little bit more fit. If you look at he's just the face guy. If you look at the operations, if you can research that and find out, he's the face guy, right? And he's perfect for Fox because, they got a black guy there. They can't be accused of being racist, right? But the operations, you've got other people, okay? And that's typically what you see. If you see someone that's not related, they either have a spouse or business partners behind the scenes. That's what I've observed over the 2 decades that I've been closely following this whole narrative. So take a look here. And of course, this disgusts me because I'm the guy that predicted the financial crisis. Nobody else predicted it if you raise the bar. And you read the Grok analysis and you'll see what I'm talking about. It's got to be a high bar. But these guys, they got this out of the middle of fucking nowhere. Right? Now, take a look. Let me just, so you can take Gary Schilling. This guy's a clown. I'll tell you about him in a second. Jim Stack, never heard of him. But the last name this last name I know his background. It's obvious. If you don't know that, you got a lot to learn. Okay? But then you look at him, he looks like William Shatner. Well, Shatner, you know that surname. If you don't know that surname, and it's all, Shatner, Ratner, blah, blah, blah. It's pretty obvious. Anyway. And so, John Malden, this guy's a total fucking loser and just piece of fucking garbage idiot. Okay? I've got a story about this guy. And so, this guy is the only person who you could even claim that, but he didn't predict it. And the reason why, of course, this guy, he's an IMF official. He was the head of the IMF. So, of course, he's going to get publicity. And by the way, if you instantly assume that he's not related, it would be unwise to do so. You might want to look into it very closely. Okay? Very closely. And you might not be able to find anything. Oh, and by the way, look, this is an opinion piece, and ask yourself who's allowed to put opinion pieces there. The same people who are allowed to be the reporters. Who is it? Howard Gold. Okay, so. But none of these guys predicted the financial crisis. But let me just go ahead and tell you. So if you don't know Gary Schilling, obviously he's related to Robert Schiller and, Jim Stack, and you understand. But he's a clown. He's a nobody. He's like what's his name? I can't think of the guy's name. But he's basically a guy who he makes his money because he's related to the right people, so he gets promoted and he gets financial assistance through, let's say, people related to Wall Street, on Wall Street firms. They will buy his so-called research to kind of support him, okay? And all he does, his research basically is whether you're going to buy U.S. Treasuries or not. Treasuries or stocks. So it's completely fucking useless. It's completely generic. It's completely fucking stupid. He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. He's a clown. Okay? I mean, any fucking fool can tell you when's the best time to buy treasuries versus equities. It's pretty fucking basic. Okay? It doesn't require a whole lot of... But anyway, this guy, Jim Stack, I looked into him because I never heard of this guy, and apparently he's a guy that... I realized that the guy's he's not credible, and I'd say he's probably a scam artist. He has his own brokerage firm, and I say probably a scam artist. Why? Because number one, he goes to the money show. Anyone that's going to the money show has no credibility. They're all scammers, folks. I'm telling you right now. Okay? I've been to the money show. I've investigated it. I know what goes on there. A lot of illegal activities. I've talked about it before. I'm not going to mention it. But the money show is a complete scam. Don't ever go. You're going to get hood fucking winked. Okay? Not only is it a scam, but they also, they're going to get your information. Because it's free. Free! Like Facebook, free! Free to get fucked. Okay? And they're going to, so if you want to go in there, they're going to get your info and they're going to sell it, by the way. I have evidence of that. How do I know? They're going to sell your information, your email, your contact information. How do I know that? And by the way, they don't tell you that. They don't tell you they're going to sell it. They're going to sell it to everybody. Because how do I know? Well, because they contacted me asking if I wanted to buy their sucker list. Sucker list, that means it's a proven list of suckers, idiots, who are easy to fool. Okay? So I looked into this guy, and I looked for any evidence that he had any claim to have predicted the financial crisis. Nothing. Zero. So I got a little bit pissed off, because I'm sick of these fucking people claiming, stealing my thunder for which I've gotten no credit, no financial reward, no thank you, no nothing. And these motherfucking pieces of shit are stepping up now. And they're doing that with the help of their buddies in the media. You understand what I'm talking about, folks? The big picture? This is fraud. You understand that, right? It's a massive fraud. This is what the media does, right? All of these little criminal mafioso operations got their own little game that they pull. You see how the game the media pulls, right? You see the game that Wall Street pulls. You understand. And it's very racist. It's very discriminatory. Not to mention the fact it's fraudulent. But so I looked into this guy, Jim Stack. Found zero. All I found, he's got some brokerage firm in some fucking state in the middle of nowhere. I can't remember, Idaho or Wyoming or somewhere like that. I don't know. I haven't looked into this guy in like 3 years or so, 4 years, actually longer than that. But anyway, so I was thinking like, well, what is this? I'm pissed off. This guy is completely making false claims. Why? He's got a brokerage to get business. This is fraud. And I called up his fucking firm. And you can tell the motherfucker. I called his firm and I gave him a very polite warning. I could have fucked this guy big time. I gave the person there a warning. And I said, look, I noticed that he's claiming to have predicted the financial crisis. I see nothing. What's the evidence? And the person told me, oh, well, he was telling his clients that they should be, you know, you got it. Can you believe that? Right? He was telling his clients there's increased risk, stuff like that. So I said, listen, he'd better stop this or I'm going to complain to the SEC and to FINRA. Okay? This is a warning. Now, I should check into this guy and see if he's still doing this. Okay? And it I don't know, it seemed to have stopped. John Malden, this guy's a total loser. And let me just tell you this guy. This is a guy who for fucking 2 decades or more, he has this free little newsletter. It's fucking stupid. It's fear-mongering bullshit. He doesn't really do it right about anything. He gets other people to submit pieces. And so what he does, he gets paid to promote people because he'll tell you, like for 20 years, over 1 million subscribers. It's free. And he wants to tell you it's 1 million. Wow, it's 1 million. It must, it's the whole fake fake review thing. Oh, 1 million people. It's valid. Must be credible. You understand? Which is completely bogus. I mean, it's this whole thing. Oh, I'm a New York Times bestseller. I'm half the people that say that aren't, even though that's all bullshit. I mean, you all know how to game the system, right? Amazon bestseller. I mean, anyone can be an Amazon bestseller. Anybody. You all know the trick, right? I'm like, you look into it. And actually, all the other stuff, it doesn't mean anything. When I see someone saying bestseller, I stay away. Why? They're trying to convince you through validity, through confirmation, right? Oh, it's valid. It's valid because it's a complete scam. Anyway, John Malden basically pitches a bunch of bullshit. He makes money promoting things, people's books, this, that, their websites, the newsletters, and also I've seen him do promoting stocks and other things, which are, I don't know, but some of the shady shit he does. So he claims to be an economist. He's part of the doomsday fucking clowns. He's part of the, he's a copy editor. He's on his own, but he hangs with the whole Stansberry research, Agora, all those fucking cons. Okay? And so he didn't predict anything. In fact, let me tell you, I just remembered. John Malden, John Malden, he lives in, well, he may have gone to Puerto Rico with all the other fucking scammers who don't want to pay taxes, right? I think he did, I don't know, but I sent John Malden an early draft of America's Financial Apocalypse. Never heard from him. Never heard back from him. FYI. Fact. This guy's a loser. Aside from all the plastic surgery he's gotten, which, I mean, if you didn't see him before, you'd be like, he's got plastic surgery? That's the result of plastic surgery? This guy's a total loser. The other guy, I don't know who he is other than he was the former head of the IMF. Okay, but I just wanted to mention that. MarketWatch is a complete fucking shit show fraud. Just complete. And understand MarketWatch came out in support of Porter Stansberry back in, you can look it up, I don't know, maybe 2006, 5, 7, whenever, after Porter Stansberry got in trouble with the SEC for scamming people. You can look into that if you don't know about it. MarketWatch and other media, because, they're related to him, and they want to support, the right of, quote, freedom of speech, because the media knows that they're engaging in fraud. The last thing the media wants is for the SEC to go after somebody in the media or elsewhere who deceives people, right? Because the media knows they're all full of shit. They're all lies. They're scams. But they want SEC fined Stansberry because of his newsletter, which basically made false claims. You can look into the details. I haven't looked into this in years, but from what I recall, he was telling people if they paid him, $2,000, he knows, like, you're going to make a lot of money because he knows this is definitely going to happen. Like as if he had insider information or something like that. Clearly illegal. Okay. And the media, Market Watch actually wrote a piece defending Stansberry and his right of freedom of speech. I kid you not. Now, if Stansberry didn't have that last name, maybe his name was like, I don't know, Stathis or someone else not related to the guys that run and write for Market Watch and all of other media, they wouldn't have come out and defended him, I'm sure, that person. You understand what I'm saying? So, anyway, I just wanted to mention that. And one last thing. Well, is it? No, two actually. Let me cover this first. Some of you may have heard me before about talking about China, and what you got going on now, especially on ScamTube, is you got basically two things. Okay, I would say 95% of the content on China right now on ScamTube is either pro CCP hyperbole bullshit or anti CCP hyperbole bullshit. So you have like extremes on either end that's complete horseshit. Okay, and it's all for clicks and money. Clearly, the people who are promoting pro China hyperbole bullshit are being paid by the CCP. I hope you know that. That's fact. You write it down. Okay. And I've gone over some of those people before. But I wanted to show you this because I've mentioned that one of the organizations out there, and they have quite a few YouTube channels that promotes this anti-CCP bullshit, is out of Taiwan, as you can imagine. Why? And that's Epoch Times. Okay? And I just wanted to show you here. This is Epoch Times. They a complete boiler room. Take a look at the scam ads. Look at this. The Penny Hoarder. Wealthy retirement. Take a Paradigm Press. Jim Rickards. Okay? So, the final thing is everyone's favorite genius, investment genius, right? According to the media, right? Kathy Wood. Kathy Wood. Let's take a look here. And so, I'm sorry. Here we go. Josh Brown. Josh Brown. Right? Take a look. Josh Brown. And this is, folks, once again, this is the only true value of YouTube. As you recall, I mentioned earlier about the internet, about AI. Only the intelligent people out there really understand how to utilize the internet and AI without the side effects. The vast majority of the population doesn't understand, and they're the ones getting dumbed down, diluted, and deceived and scammed. YouTube, ScamTube, the only good thing about ScamTube is that it does publish pieces from CNBC, from Bloomberg, from the news, so on and so forth, so that you can go back and access it. You can check the archives to see what people were saying. Okay, that's a great thing, because before CNBC just rattles shit off and you forget about it, but now we can track these motherfuckers. You see, and CNBC and these other professional media companies aren't going to they're not going to do what Tom Nash and all these other fraudsters do, Graham Stephan. They're not going to edit out things, delete and hide videos. You see, let's take a look. On December 9th, 2021, you all remember when that period was? December 9th, 2021 was just about a couple of weeks after the NASDAQ had peaked out. Okay? The U.S. market didn't really show any definitive signs, as far as I'm concerned, of collapsing until January, maybe mid-January or so, something around that period. Okay, and then February as well, and then of course the you had Russia invade Ukraine. Shortly after, the Fed was starting to raise interest rates, right? Remember that? So basically, during the peak, not far off the peak of the NASDAQ, Josh Brown's taking a look at this thing and he's saying, my gosh, he's basically, take a look, the most despised corner of the market right now, but he would buy the dip. When he's talking about Kathy Wood's ARK ETF. Okay? Right here. Right here. About, what is it, 68 bucks? Let me see here. Yeah, I think it is, right? I can't see. I think that's what it is. Yeah, 68. Is it 68 or 98? 98? Yeah, it's 98. 97.77, right? I think so. So, think about that. And then what happens after that? You're talking about colossal fucking collapse, right? Colossal collapse. So, what's the point I'm trying to make? What's the point? The point is, folks, this is what CNBC does. They've always done. They promote these scammers. Kathy Wood's a scam artist. She's not just an idiot. She's a scam artist. Why do I say that? Some of the things that come out of her mouth, there's no way a person can get these things wrong unless they're intentionally lying. When Kathy Wood's coming out in 2022, continuing to pump her stupid narrative, claiming there's deflation. Anybody remember that? When inflation is soaring, is sky high, is 9.1% in June of 2022, peaking out. And Kathy Wood continues to tell people that we're in deflation because technology is deflationary. Yeah, technology is deflationary. She's a fucking idiot. Okay, the only thing that's deflationary is technology stocks when they become overvalued and overhyped, and then they fucking deflate. They collapse. Okay, many other things she said, which are obviously there's no way that she's not lying intentionally. She's a scam artist, and of course, she also what she does, she buys small market cap stocks, pumps them up, which is one reason why. Oh, she's transparent. She shows her trades. Yeah, she wants you to see how she's pumping up bullshit companies, so the suckers will pile in. Okay. So the media always does this, folks. They promote her. She should be shamed and disgraced. And it's not going to happen until many years after most of the audience at CNBC realizes what a fucking clown she is and they call in and complain about her. Because once they do that, then they're going to lose their viewership and then they're going to lose their advertisement revenue. But until that time, they're going to keep pumping her. They're going to keep taking the money that she's paying CNBC to get promoted. Well, you think they're fucking promoting her all the time for nothing? They're paying CNBC. Now, I'm not saying, you got to understand, folks, they don't pay them directly. Okay? Just like these frauds that go on these TV shows and promote their books, they go through PR companies that do this stuff on the sides, pay the producers, you understand. Anyway, let's take another look at a chart here. Take a look. Now, these are old charts, so this was what, 2023? And so take a look. You can see from inception, right? And then this is when 2018, when Kathy Wood starts getting pumped a lot. Okay? Total disaster. And if you want to compare this, let's take a look here. You compare it with the NASDAQ. And I believe actually the NASDAQ is not even a proper benchmark. I think the NASDAQ is lower risk than this ETF. Let's take a look. Let me see what we got here. Do I have it here? Yeah, here we go. Take a look. Since inception, NASDAQ 300%, her fund 200%, and you're paying huge fees. And I believe her fund is higher risk. Okay. Anyway. So let me, that's kind of the intro here. I think what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to stop this and start talking about Iran, Israel, and Donald Trump. Let me just go ahead and, I guess, for those who have waited, let me go ahead and give a little preview here. So think about this for a second. You've got Donald Trump, and you all know who butters Donald Trump's bread. He knows what side of the fucking bread his butter comes on, right? He knows. If you don't understand that, go back and think about Trump from decades ago. Donald Trump has always been a media guy, by the way. Don't be an idiot if you're a Trump supporter and think the media hates him. Donald Trump is media. Donald Trump has made all his money out of media and promotion based upon his perceived media celebrity status. Launching all his brands, all this bullshit, his Trump developments. He doesn't even... That's all license deals. All Trump does is license his fucking perceived image, which is created by the media. That's what all these fucking con artists are doing now. Right? I mean, Trump is the first guy doing all that shit. Kevin O'Leary, all these guys are doing that shit. You understand? Trump was doing this shit back in the 80s. Okay? And he got into that business because his first wife, you know, is related to these guys that run the media. By the way, you don't hear that. It's fact. Guaranteed. Write it the fuck down. But Donald Trump, think about his casino disasters, right? Atlantic City. Many failures the guy had. His airlines he bought, USFL, all this fucking, just about everything this guy touches turns to fucking shit. I mean, how is that possible when you get so much fucking promotion by the media celebrity status, and like he has no fucking ability in business at all, zero, right? His state company, everything, just about everything. Trump University. I mean, any Trump supporters out there, don't be a dumbass. At least admit that the guy's a scammer, has always been involved in scams. But it all began, of course, with his casinos. I mean, how does one fail as the casino owner? How do casinos go out of business? I've never heard of that. That seems like a lower probability, a much lower probability than a McDonald's going out of business, at least in America, which I've never seen, right? Not in America. I'm sure there's been some, but I've never seen it. How does one fail in the casino business? Like, you have to try to fail. That's like the ultimate scam, casinos, right? Let me just mention something. I don't think a whole lot of quants, to be honest. I don't consider myself a quant. I'm a qualitative analysis. If you want to make the big fucking money and identify the future great winners, it's qualitative analysis, not quantitative analysis. Okay? Now, I have a quantitative background, and I can think quantitatively, but I also have an artistic side, right? So I don't. I mean, the only advantage, and the only reason to be a quantitative guy, is if you're working for a big fund. If you're not working for a big fund, and you're a quant person, that means you're looking at the numbers. And if you're looking at the numbers, you're focusing on the trees and missing the forest. And you're also relying on the accounting, the numbers. Do you understand how often it is for companies to restate their earnings, right? I'm not saying you ignore the numbers, but you don't focus on... Anyone who focuses on financial statements is a fucking clown. Okay? Now, There are times, if you are a firm, you got a lot of resources, you want a really big position, you're going to do a deep dive. Clearly, you're going to do that. But I'm just saying, generally speaking, that's low yield. Okay? Higher yield, if you want to look at the numbers, you look at metrics, you look at like summaries of things, and then if you see some things, a reason why to delve deeper, then you do that. So you're looking for reasons to look deeper, but you don't just sit there and just focus on financial statements. It's just fucking stupid. It's not enough. You don't, as an individual investor, you don't have enough time to do that. As an individual investor, what you want to do is you absolutely must focus on the most high yield, most productive things, because you don't want to you don't want to restrict your universe of investments to too few candidates. The worst thing you can do is to not know about a large universe of investments, because only then will you get perspective. Only then will you understand when the good opportunities are out there and the higher risk things, because you have a large perspective, big perspective. So as an individual investor, looking at quant is not the thing to do at all, I believe. I mean, I'm the guy that identified, the only person in the world who identified NVIDIA, Netflix, 2 decades ago as big time winners. Okay, and I'm not talking about just saying it 2 decades ago and moving on. I'm talking about recommending it since that time and writing about it. Okay, you know, I've got my track record on distressed securities analysis is I believe it's extremely close to, if not 100%. Okay, distressed securities analysis, that's the most difficult area in the investment world, by the way. But anyway, so I just wanted to mention that just to give you some perspective on that. So anyway, so you look at Donald Trump. How can you fail in the casino business? Yet he did. You can look into it. By now, I'm sure there's, some credible pieces out there on his history of the casino business. But Donald Trump, he failed at that. And this is when he really got in bed with Wall Street. If you understand that, then you understand, who pulls Donald Trump's strings. Understand, folks, every single, I can't speak for other countries. I have to believe probably this something, well, probably it's not as bad in other countries, let's say non-westernized countries. You don't need to have leverage over a politician through, certain things. It's a different system. But in America, as far as I can tell, as far as I've, as long as I've been alive, every president, they have some weaknesses. They've got skeletons in their closet. They have things that they can be used against them to control them. Okay, Donald Trump is no different. In fact, it's, I think, the most obvious with Trump. Okay, I mean, you can look into Obama, right? You can look into things there. You can look into Bill Clinton, right? I haven't looked into Biden, but I mean, I'm sure. But Donald Trump was in bed with the bankers early on. They bailed his ass out many times, right? So, and then you heard, I made a video on this in 2016. What Donald Trump is going to do. He wants to drain the swamp. You know what the swamp is, right? The swamp is the rich crooks, the guys that game the system, right? That's the swamp, isn't it? The people, the pieces of shit who are fucking everybody, right? Well, Donald Trump said that he wants to fill his cabinet with guys like Icon, right? Right? Icon. He was naming all these Wall Street guys. I mean, if you didn't see what Trump was all about back then, I mean, so wait a second. Remember, Donald Trump was campaigning in 2016 on the China issue, on the trade issue, on the borders, right? Big China talk, right? Talking about the trade issue, right? But he wants to fill his cabinet with the same guys who promoted, facilitated, support, profited from free trade, right? Wall Street guys. I mean, you all do know they're the ones behind free trade. You do know that, right? Wall Street and corporate America, and you all, if you don't know my credibility on trade, well, according to Grok, I'm one of the top guys in the world based upon America's financial apocalypse. Nobody has that insight that I wrote 20 years ago. Nobody had that insight. Even the Nobel Prize winning economists who focus on that shit. So I mention that not to brag. I mention that because this is not an opinion piece. This is from an expert. Wall Street, and I say this because if you have, most people, they're so stupid, they're so controlled, if they haven't heard it before, and or if it's not consistent with what they want to hear, they think it's not legitimate. Oh, what are you talking about? Well, I'm not some fucking idiot yapping my mouth off with opinion. I'm world-class big swinging dick. Boom, motherfucking boom. And if you don't know that, I've got the facts. The facts are on my side. Put up the money in escrow and we'll go to a neutral party and have them assess it. If you got the balls, put up or shut up. Put your money where your mouth is or shut your fucking mouth. Okay? So, and I'll be doing Chat GPT. Early on, I didn't like the whole layout, but I did one recently. You can see that's the first one there. It looks pretty good. So, and of course, the key thing is this. Take a look. All you got to do, the chapters are there. The 3 chapters, those 3 links, you can do your own analysis. Just input those chapter links, but that's not, they don't include the trade material. And there's other material that I have not made publicly available. I mean, come on. Who puts fucking the better part of, look how much I've given away for free. What, 100 pages of that stuff? Now, the fact is those books are out of publication, but I'm still not going to release it for free. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that you can't just get out, there's certain things that one reason why I haven't released the trade stuff is because there's not a single chapter. It's throughout the book. You see, it's all throughout. And even identifying, locating all that stuff would be difficult. But if you do want to get an idea, and actually, at some point when these AI assistants they're able to analyze video, right? They might be able to analyze the video footage of the trade material in my book that I've posted in the videos, okay? Or you can just read that yourself. So, anyway, thinking about Trump, right? He's not going to tell you. What Trump's narrative has always been is that we've got dumb leaders. Our dumb leaders got us into these bad trade deals, right? They got outmaneuvered, outsmarted by the leaders of Mexico and China and all these places. Folks, that's a lie, okay? Do you really think the leaders of Mexico are smarter than the leaders in Washington? It's not just the fucking pinhead whores, and the whores are the politicians. They're whores because they accept money to do whatever they're told, right? They have experts, the guys you don't hear about, that are providing information for them, so on and so forth, right? Same thing with China. Do you really think the Chinese outsmarted the Washington politicians? Of course not. Okay, of course not. But Trump doesn't want to tell you that, because Trump's want to tell you, this is the same guy who tells you he's a smart guy, right? He's a smart guy. He's a smart guy, right? So he wants to basically say, finally, you're going to get a smart guy in Washington who's going to, right? He's going to do all this stuff, because Trump doesn't want to unveil the full Monty. He doesn't want to tell you how the whole thing works. That's the whole theme. I told you all before in the past. The media back and forth wants to give you this whole 2-story pitch, right? Democrat, Republican. In reality, they don't want to tell you the full Monty. If the Democrats didn't want Trump to win, if they really wanted to criticize Trump, they would have come out and said during his first term, hey, Donald, you're not bringing the jobs back. Your trade negotiation is focused on intellectual property. Why are you doing that? If you're really serious about bringing the jobs back from China, then you wouldn't need to worry about China stealing the intellectual property of corporate America. You would bring corporate America facilities back to America. You would force them back through tax legislation, whatever. You understand? That's an obvious point. I'm the only person that's ever made that point. I was making it 10 years ago, or almost 10 years ago, let's say, 8 years ago. The trade talks only seriously began in his second year. It's focused on the tax cuts in 2017. Trade began mainly in 2018. So why didn't you all understand that, right? Why didn't the media point that out? Because they don't want people to understand the full truth. They want to pretend that, you know, their guy is better than the Republican guy, and the Republicans the same thing. But at the end of the day, the media doesn't want to tell you the full truth. It's kind of like how the crime bosses in the mafia operate, right? You got different crime families, right? Which apparently they're supposed to be all Italian, but that ain't true. Okay, it ain't true. But irrespective of that, they fight for turf, right? These mafia crime boss families, they fight for turf. Folks, any type of mafia does. Doesn't matter what you're talking about. Go to Bali. Go to Indonesia. Have you been to Indonesia? Have you been to Bali? Have you experienced the taxi mafia? Have you been to Thailand? Taxi mafia? Even the fucking soy dogs, the dogs in Thailand, they have a territory. You understand? That's mafia. They fight for their territory, okay? So, the mafia crime boss families, they fight for territory against each other. But the one thing they won't do, it's a code, it's an unwritten code. They're not going to fight the other crime families, the mafia families, by going to the police. You understand? Because that's a much higher level. They're not going to go high level. They want to stay low level with their crime. They don't want to get the police involved. You understand? It's the same with America's political system, the Democrats and Republicans. They're not going to tell you the full thing, even though they could expose what Trump is doing, which is actually, he's full of shit. But they don't want to do that. The liberal side of the media won't do that, because if you understand the real deal, then you'll realize the whole political process, the whole political system is a complete fraud. That's the reality. I've made this point many times over the years. And it's a great example because we're living it and seeing it now. Right? So, you got Trump, right? He's the same guy now. He tells you he's anti-war. America first, anti-war. I don't want war. I want these wars to stop. Trump wants the wars to stop unless it involves what Israel wants. Okay? He's America first. Oh, except if Israel's involved. Then he's an Israel first guy. And it's not just Trump. Okay? It's all these guys. Biden, Obama, Clinton, you name it. George Bush. And it's relative. You know, was Biden less pro-Israel than Trump? You could say that. I would say Trump is more pro-Israel, right? You don't get elected in office in America if you're not pro-Israel. That's fact. I've explained that before. It's obvious. If you don't know that, then you don't know a whole hell of a lot what's going on. Okay? And you can imagine I've explained the mechanisms, how the money moves, and follow the money, right? Follow the money. And you take a look at what's going on. Is Israel so powerful as a standalone country to influence America? No. Does it have a very powerful lobby? Yes, AIPAC. But where is AIPAC getting its money? You all do understand that Israel gets billions of dollars from America every year. Much of that is free money. It's grants, right? They get your money for free. Not loans, free. Why is that? Well, think about it. If you're getting a lot of free money, well, can't some of that money go to fund AIPAC, the lobbyist, the Israeli lobbyist. You know what a lobbyist is, right? They go to Washington and they bribe politicians to get things passed that favor the country of Israel, right? And then you add on to that the billionaire criminals in America, you know, the guys that don't do any work. They like live off other people's work and money. They don't actually do the work. You know, they manage funds and collect fees. And they, you know, they use their friends in the media to manipulate the markets, so on and so forth. Those guys. Well, take a look at the case of Bill Ackman, right? They're actually going and threatening to shut down some of the greatest institutions of higher learning in the world, going after Harvard, because they don't want college students to protest against the killing of innocent people in Palestine by Israel. This is disgusting. This is fucking shocking what's going on. And no one's coming out after Bill Ackman and saying, criticizing him. Well, I'm here to do it right now, Bill, you piece of fucking shit. You know, Bill, you're the guy on the phone with me in 2008, panicking, begging me, what's the name of my book? You want to get it now. That's fucking right. I'll never fucking give this guy research again. Fucking piece of shit. These hedge fund guys can go fuck themselves, for the most part. Go fuck themselves. Fucking crooks, all of them. Go fuck this. You don't like it? Don't get my research, bitches. Because I'm the big swinging dick. A lot of these guys anymore don't even really care, folks. They don't. It's the same thing. You remember I told you all the story a long time ago about the GLG, the expert network? Gearson, Lehman, Gearson or something like that. GLG, I don't remember. I was part of that network 15 years ago, 20 years ago. And I knew something was up back during the financial crisis when I'm there, you know, showing the evidence that I predicted everything, you know, a year later, and I'm not getting any business for the most part. I'm some, but not related to that. I mean, you think, holy shit, this guy's the fucking top in the world. No one comes close to this guy. Why is that? I'm thinking, like, what's going on here? And then I'm also having to fight these guys, the people that running that. I'm thinking, look, you know, my fees need to go up. I'm going to be charging, you know, amongst the highest fees, and like, well, you know, well, this and that, and everything together. I'm thinking, like, what's going on here? This is weird. It comes to find out that by that time, GLG had formed a criminal network of so-called experts who were not really experts so much as they were insiders. So the hedge funds were basically not interested in legitimate research, because why would they be? They got something better. They got insider information. They actually did a documentary on this. You can look it up on ScamTube, I think. And it's still going on, by the way. And it will continue to go on, because the founder, the guy that runs the shop, and you can take a look at his name, voila. Nothing happened to him, right? You see, that's the media. They can always claim innocence. Oh, well, it's not us. It's the people that are on the network. You understand? And that's part of the laws in place that need to change. So, you know, that's the reality. Insider trading rules Wall Street. That's the reality. I see it every day. I see evidence of insider trading virtually every day without even looking for it. Virtually every day. And you might recall, you know, I showed evidence of how I'm the guy that actually exposed Andrew Left. It's the reason why he's fucking... he got canned. I tipped off the SEC many years ago. You know, what he's doing with Bloomberg. Bloomberg is... Folks, I'm telling you, these media companies are completely fucking criminal. And nothing's happening to them. And then you think like, okay, well, okay, who runs? Who's involved with Bloomberg? Who are the securities regulators? Who are the big judges? Who are the federal prosecutors? You understand? This is what we're talking about here. This is a big fucking problem. And then you look at the bigger picture of not just how it fucks you, irrespective, by the way, of your ethnicity. Doesn't matter if you're related to them. If you're not part of the fucking gravy train, you're getting fucked. They don't give a shit. Because obviously, every person related to them ain't involved in the gravy train. There are innocent people who are related to them who are getting fucked as well. You better believe it. Now, the question is, when it's pointed out to them, the question is this: are they willing to admit it and say, yeah, it sucks, it's bullshit? Or are they going to come out and defend them? That's the key right there. That tells you, when you ask that question, that tells you who you're really dealing with. You understand? Okay. The big picture, though, aside from the most obvious direct fraud that impacts the public, is those people who are making all the money illegally, fraudulently, whether it's through the media, through Wall Street, other venues, other avenues, right? Those are the power people, the 0.1%. And most of those, I mean, take a look at, folks, take a look at the Fortune 500. Carefully, very carefully. And take a look at the percentages. Take a look at who they are and where they're getting their money. Okay? The problem is that most of those people, well, I would say, well, some of them aren't, they're doing things behind the scenes. Not everybody is blatantly stupid like Bill Ackman. You understand, right? And as I mentioned before, Bill Ackman actually exposed the whole MO. Normally, they don't go after publicly and say, hey, we want the names of these Harvard students, these Columbia students who are protesting against the genocide going on in Palestine. We want their names because we're going to make sure they don't work. They don't get a job ever. Can you believe that? Can you fucking believe that? And the media's not going after this guy and saying, what the fuck are you doing? Who the fuck are you? And you know why they're not doing that, folks. What a piece of fucking shit. Right? And I'll get to that here in a second. About Harvard and so forth. If I remember. But this is how they normally operate. They normally go behind the scenes. You don't know about it. But Bill Ackman's so fucking stupid, he exposed how things operate. You understand? In other words, it's kind of like me being banned by the media. They don't come out and say, oh, we're going to ban this guy. We're going to, you know, there's a kind of a hidden thing that people know how things operate. And Bill Ackman's so fucking stupid, he exposed like what they're doing, and they've always been doing. Okay? But imagine people like Ackman who've made their money through deceit in many ways. In Bill Ackman's case, stock manipulation, right? We can go down the list with that. There's many other, you know, I don't know about Ackman if he's been involved in insider trading, but Carl Icahn, other people, right? You can look at the media. These guys have amassed all this money, okay? And I've talked about how they've amassed it. That's one aspect. The other, the main point is this, irrespective of how they've amassed it, but how they've amassed it really, it just amplifies the disgusting nature of what's going on. They take that money and imagine what they're doing. They're influencing politicians. They're even trying to stifle freedom of thought at universities for their political opinions. They're supposed to be Americans, but guess what? They're dual citizens of Israel. I mean, if Bill Ackman has such a strong posture on Israel, so strong that he wants to just completely harass and intimidate university students, and with him and his buddies, which are big donors and have financial power at these universities, they want to completely stifle the universities to actually jeopardize, in part, what's made these universities great. Why are they in America? Shouldn't they go to Israel and live since they're Israeli citizens? It doesn't seem like their interests are really aligned with America. That's really weird to me. Is that, am I being, is that a weird conclusion to make? Right? This is the problem. If you're an American, you need to have loyalty to America. Or at least if you're not loyal to America for whatever reason and you're American, at least come out and say, you know what? I have loyalty to another country. And here's why. But don't pretend that this horseshit stance that you're taking, advocating genocide, is the American way, which is what Trump is doing, right? He's America first, just as long as Israel is not involved. When Israel's involved, then he's going to want to go out and I mean, remember, folks, Israel uses military weaponry from America, taxpayer money from America, to murder people. Oh, well, they were getting ready to attack us, so we had to do it. Oh, you mean like what happened more than 20 years ago in Iraq with weapons of mass destruction? Right? Fucking bullshit. Let's take a look. Oh, look at this guy. Look at this. Interesting, huh? Doesn't this guy kind of look like, in the middle, doesn't he kind of look like Patrick Bet David? Is that a coincidence, or? You know, I'm sure he's going to say he's Iranian because he's in Iran, but not everyone in Iran, by the way, is Muslim, right? FYI. And you can take a look and see the percentages. You're going to be maybe a little bit, interesting to note that there is actually a small percentage of, I mean, you would think that in Israel, in Iran, it's normal to assume in Iran you're probably not going to find any Jewish individuals, right? Very Islamic place. Clearly, Iran and Israel don't like each other, right? But the fact is, if you thought that there weren't, then you'd be wrong. Okay, take a look here. Oh, look. Kevin O'Leary. I mean, you see what's going on here? Doesn't matter what the topic is. Kevin O'Leary's an expert. I want to hear Kevin. Why? Folks, it's all about Kevin getting his ugly mug out there to promote his bullshit, his name. Okay? It's kind of like the Robert Kiyosaki thing going on. The media is disgusting. Okay? Absolutely fucking disgusting. They're pulling scams. This is why people don't even know that there's real experts out there. And guess what? Kevin O'Leary's related to these guys. That's why he's there. The guy's a business failure. He's an investment failure. He's a scam artist. He's a disgusting, degenerate, money-worshipping, parasitic rat. He's a bad person. Okay? On top of all that, he's just a bad person. I don't say that much about people, right? There's scammers out there, and there's scammers who are bad people. He's a bad person, in my opinion. Trump open to assisting Israel in conflict. What do you mean open? What are you talking about? Let me tell you something right now. I hope the American people, if Trump is involved at all, I mean, folks, we already give Israel money for this shit. Okay? We shouldn't even be involved in any of these wars. I hope the American people do what's necessary if America gets involved in this shit. This is terrible. And you know, the amazing thing is, even today, Israel still doesn't acknowledge that they have nuclear warheads. You all don't know. You all do know Israel has nuclear warheads, right? Everybody know that. They won't acknowledge it. Okay. So ask yourself two questions. First of all, if Israel is allowed to have nuclear warheads, why can't Iran? Why is Israel the only nation, and I'm using the term nation for Israel very loosely, by the way, because that's a whole other topic of discussion. Why is that country, and I'm using that topic term as loosely as a but why is Israel the only nation in that area allowed to have nuclear warheads? Right. Second question is this: would Israel be conducting itself in the way that it's been doing for decades, in terms of its constant land grabs, murders in Palestine, if it didn't have nuclear warheads? Right? Actually, a third question. Does this situation that we're seeing right now not form a strong argument for Iran's need to have nuclear weapons? Iran needs them more than ever now. If Iran had nuclear weapons, they wouldn't be in this situation. They wouldn't be attacked like this for have done nothing. They've done nothing. I mean, for me personally, I wish there were no fucking nuclear weapons. I wish they'd all be gone. Okay. Yeah, I already know about. I mean, look, Mersheimer and Waltz. That's an old news, dude. That's like fucking what, 15, 20-year old. That's old news. Okay, that's not. I mean, the fact is that if you take a look at who these guys are, right? They're Jewish. Only Jewish people are allowed to criticize Israeli policy. Okay, now they get backlash for that, but they're promoted. They get promoted by the media. Anyone else who did that would be called a racist anti-Semite. Just keep that in mind. That's a bigger picture there. There's a little bit higher level of thought, FYI. Okay? Understand that. You need to raise your level of thought. Understand what's going on. You see, because if you're only allowing certain people to criticize, and it's not just Israel, it's whoever is the power player that we're talking about at the time. If you're only allowing that, then you're allowing you're allowing this faction to control the narrative. It's called controlled opposition. You understand? It's called controlled opposition. You see? I mean, and it's also distraction. How is it controlled opposition? Well, you notice these people out there they're all geniuses, because that's what their relatives in the media tell us. Right? They talk about Israel. Like I said, I don't care about Israel. Fuck Israel. I don't care about Israel. They can do whatever they want to do as long as it doesn't involve America. The problem is that Israel is tied to the hip with America, politically, financially, as I've mentioned. Okay? What these guys don't want to talk about, whether it's Mersheimer or what's the guy's name? The guy, what's his name? The linguist who's supposed to be a genius in all matters. They go to him. Oh, he's such a brilliant guy. Guys who are professors of fucking languages, I don't think they're the people who need to be consulted on all matters. right? But, he talks about Israel. He criticizes Israel. What's the guy's? Everybody knows the guy, right? Because he's famous. He's a genius, right? Because the media tells us he is, right? What's the guy's name? Come on, you guys know him. I don't know why I got a brain fart. Right? All these guys, you'll notice they'll criticize Israel, but wait a second. The real problem are these dual citizens in America. You understand? They won't talk about that. That's ultimately the source of funding from America, from their bank accounts, and also through Washington. Right? You all do realize that, right? That's the key. So that's the new thing. The new trend is for, and there's a lot of Jewish people in America and even in Israel who don't agree with Israel's policies. I'm just talking about Netanyahu here, really. When I say Israel, I'm talking about Netanyahu. Okay, I can't make a judgment call on what all Israelis want or believe. Netanyahu's the problem. Really, it's not Israel. It's Netanyahu. Okay, and any of the other psychopathic leaders they've had there. That's the problem. Just like you could say the same thing for most nations, right? You see, it's the leaders of these countries. They're the problem. It's not the citizens. The citizens of all these countries aren't the problem, unless they are propping up the leaders, like I talked about with these billionaire scammers. You understand? Generally speaking, the people of all of these countries around the world are generally decent people, good, nice people, right? It's the leaders. That's right. Chomsky, yeah. Noam Chomsky, yeah. But you'll notice these guys, right? They won't bring up that topic. They want to focus on Israel. But wait a second, it's much deeper than Israel, is it not? Once you understand, and these guys know it, but they're not going to say it. Once you understand, it's not difficult, folks. Just go through and take a look at the big power players in these very influential industries, media. And it's not just, when I say media, we're talking about publishers, print, internet, broadcasting. We're talking about PR firms, ad agencies. You understand? Then you're talking about also the entire financial system. Then you're talking about other things, right? They don't want to talk about that. Norm Chomsky? Chomsky wants to talk about the media, right? Oh, propaganda, and they're doing this. And okay, but let's Mr. Chomsky, let's go to the root cause, the root people running this, so we can understand why they're doing this and how they're doing it. He'll never talk about that. So don't be fooled, okay? This is a higher level of controlled opposition, where they're appearing to talk about things. But folks, if you're not getting to the root of things, the root cause, the ultimate force behind these things, then you're not ever going to understand what's going on. They don't want you to go there. So they're going to focus on Israel. Israel's the problem. No, it's not. No, it's not. Israel's not the problem. The real problem are the American dual citizens in America. That's the problem. That's what you're not going to hear. Bill Ackman has shown the world what's going on. And you also have the puppets, the bought-off puppets. Everybody in Washington, they're bought off by that money. That's the problem. Israel couldn't and wouldn't do shit if it weren't for America. And this is why America is hated in much of the world, certainly the Middle East. Exactly. This is exactly why. You got to understand that. Okay? It's these psychopathic leaders around the world that are causing the problems. Okay? That's the problem. And take a look who props them up. In Israel's case, you're talking about, and it's not just Americans. It's not just the dual citizens in America. You've got these guys all over the West. You know who they are. Okay? They're in every country. They're in France. They're in England. They're in Italy. These are the problems. These are the problem people who are empowering these sociopaths, whether it's Benjamin Netanyahu or George W. Bush or Donald Trump. This is the problem that no one's going to talk about. It's the problem. And the reason why is because it's an inconvenient truth that you can't talk about. They don't want people to know what's ultimately going on. Okay? Every single person, every single Jewish person that can prove their Jewish lineage is theoretically a dual citizen. They can become a citizen of Israel at any point in time. That's why I say, so they're dual citizens. Okay? By the way, in case you didn't know that. Pentagon sends more U.S. forces to Middle East amid... I mean, this is fucking ridiculous, man. Think about this for a second. Think about this for a second. When you look at America and you look at Israel, okay? And you know, Israel's gotten bolder and bolder. And once again, when I say Israel, I'm not talking about the people of Israel. I'm talking about the leadership, because, you know, sometimes it's the same. You've got supporters there, but sometimes also it's not the same. There's people that don't want this shit going on in Israel. Remember, folks, it's the leaders of the world who easily create wars and send all the kids of the country to go and fight, except their kids. Right? But you take a look at America's wars over the past several decades, that's all been for Israel. And now Israel, through Benjamin Netanyahu, they're so arrogant and cocky because they have taken more control, indirect control of America through U.S. politics, that they're doing things, they're more brazen now. Think about that. Think about all these wars in the Middle East. You got the first Gulf War in 90, 91, right? Then you got the second Gulf War in 2001 or 2002, Afghanistan. And all this time, as I mentioned in the past, it's been Israel that uses America through their control and power and influence, including through Israelis in America, very powerful and wealthy, who have loyalty first and foremost to Israel, which is, it's a national security problem, by the way. Israel's wanted America to take out Syria, to take out Iran, right? Some other countries. And Iraq, right? Iran has been kind of the last one. Iran's the last one to take out. They've been trying for a long time, and now it's happening. And the amazing thing is that they're so brazen. Netanyahu is so brazen now. He's going after Iran himself. So instead of America, because Americans have fucking had it, I think, for the most part, right? With all the bullshit going on, Afghanistan, Iraq, all this shit, they've had it. There's no way they're going to convince the American people to go into Iran. So what happens? Israel strikes, and so America follows them, right? And all the propaganda begins. Oh, we got to do this because they're getting ready to bomb the world, all this nonsense. It's fucking bullshit. It's fucking bullshit. This got to stop. The problem is a very simple way to stop it. You stop the person that's doing it. That's what you do. The problem is, how are you going to do that? I mean, you don't think that... What special ops force is going to do that? Russia? Folks, Russia and Israel are joined to the fucking hip, in case you didn't know that. FYI. If you didn't know that. U.S.? Take a look who runs the CIA. The FBI, everything. We're talking about Israel firsters in the U.S. government. This is the problem. America is getting more into debt. Do you understand that trillions of dollars, I would say probably close to half of our debt, with just roughly without looking at it, I've done I've crunched the numbers, for the Iraq and Afghanistan war a long time ago. So just roughly, I would say probably close to half of our debt, maybe, I don't know, close to half, is from all these wars over the past 25 years. And related expenditures, including, sending money, right, to Ukraine, Israel all these years. You don't hear about that, do you? And now we're sending more money. I mean, folks, you're talking about, not only you're talking about inhumane, just you're talking about, I mean, it's amazing. It seems like Israel, it's crazy what's going on. So you're talking about Donald Trump. He's anti-war. He wants to stop the wars, right? And he's ready to go. Boom. As soon as Netanyahu, the war criminal sociopath, invades Iran for no reason, Donald Trump's ready. And you should, I mean, it's not a surprise. You all knew this is going to happen, right? Donald Trump tells you himself. He's told you many times in the past, there's no president, according to Donald Trump, that's ever been more pro-Israel than him. Why do we care? Why is that important? Why should I care about that? Pro-Israel? What does Israel do for America? Besides suck the tax money out? Nothing. Besides make people around the world, especially in the Middle East, hate us more. They do nothing for us. So why should Trump say that? You know why he's saying that, right? Because he wants to remind the 0.1% Fortune 500 billionaires in America, you understand, where his loyalty lies, so he can win election. That's the reality. Okay? So it's just sad, disgusting, man. It's pathetic. I feel bad for all these countries in the Middle East who have been attacked by Israel-led America. And all you military people out there in America, you're pretty disgusting. I think you're fucking losers. You're pathetic losers. You're working for another government. You're fighting wars for another country. Now, some of you, maybe you didn't know that. So you know, I didn't know that. I'm sorry. You're right. You're right. Don't be a pussy. Don't be an idiot. Oh, fuck you. Oh, I'm a... Right? But you notice the media always comes out, what do they say? Right? Support our troops. They're fighting for our freedom. The American troops, American military has been fucking trash for decades. They haven't fought for nothing except for Israel. That's the fact. And that fact needs to be communicated over and over again. We don't need nobody causing any problems. We don't need to attack any countries unless they attack us. And I'm not talking about some bullshit. Oh, terrorist, you know. Oh, really? Where's the proof? Right? We've already been through this before with the weapons of mass destruction. False flags. Been going on for ages. We're so sick of that shit. Okay? So, let me go over one more thing here. Well, I'll save it. I'm gonna stop this now, and I'm gonna go give you a little tell you what I'm gonna talk about here. Is you may want to about 10 minutes. I'm gonna start it again. You can go ahead and check out this makeup faced airhead. I mean, you can already take a look at the people she's got in the background, right? This con man, scam artist here from Scam Tank, the Hormozy scammers, and this looks like that Peter Zahan fucking clown. Okay, and you got this Gary V, this fucking scam artist, this YouTube scammer. Oh look, this is Tom Billiou. I mean, folks, you understand now? Like, I didn't even look at this picture, by the way, before. Do you understand what I'm talking about with the circle jerk? You get it? You get it? Do I get a yes? And so, I don't know. I can't tell who these people are, but write it the fuck down. Guaranteed they're scammers, okay? I mean, come on. Birds of a fucking feather always fucking flock together. Boom, motherfucking boom. You don't sound professional. You're not incredible. Yeah, I am, dumbass. Look who the fuck I am. Boom. I can do that because I'm the big swinging dick. Boom. I don't have to impress anyone. I've been banned. I don't have to act like a nice guy. I can curse. I can say fuck you. I got nothing to lose. So I'm going to talk about this girl here a few seconds when I start up. And we're also going to go over this. And we're going to talk about, he features Peter Zahan. Fucking complete fucking grifter, total clown. He's one of these anti-CCP hyperbole bullshit artists who doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, by the way.